And while we were searching for new images for this latest issue, we stumbled upon this beautiful picture of a woman artist sitting next to her sculptures on the floor in a beautiful white dress. And we thought, okay, this is a goddess. Who is she? And then, so that's basically how we discovered, or why we wanted to include Michele Oka Doner, who is here with us today. Michele works also across a diverse range of media, sculpture, objects, paintings, drawings. And when you look at her work, it's like opening a cabinet of curiosity. There's so much to discover, and that's why we're very excited to get a very unique look into her studio, which we can already see in the background. So thank you, Michele, for letting us into your space, and please tell us more about your work and your space. Thank you.
Well, thank you for including me. I feel like I'm part of a flock, and it's a flock of noisy birds like parrots that used to fly around where I lived. The chatter is wonderful. I must say the last monograph, and this is for Catherine, was called Everything is Alive, because as I was working on all these elements and couldn't decide on the title, and I said, well, it's all alive, everything is alive. A friend who's a journalist said, that's it, that's the title, which was an unusual choice at the time, but it worked. And listening to you speak conjured up one of my favorite poets, Philip Levine, and he said, let me begin again as a speck of dust. And I felt it so often, the sense of revival and transformation in all of your talks. I'm going to speak about a return to the Botanic Age, which comes from a talk I heard in January. It came from Jean Falk, Dr. Falk, University of Florida State University. And it made me realize that everything I had done was based on the great mother, Mother Earth. Fortunately, I had a mother who really liked herself, her body, and the world around her. So the world of trying to fit yourself into something didn't exist for me. And I was born in Miami Beach, 1945. It was a safe and quiet time with aggressive return to what I'll call normality after the horrors of World War II. And I was left pretty much on my own. I could walk to the beach. I could sit under a tree, and that tree now I've been made the guardian of. It's almost 100 years old. It's a banyan, and it's probably the only thing untouched, unclipped, and unmanicured left on the little island of Miami Beach. So it's being set up now in a park, and I'll be able to, the platform for me, and I'll be able to host a salon there and speak about what I see, and of course the joy and sadness of how things are changing, as it's been mentioned. But in the meantime, here I'll show you. Here I'm going to change the screen while I do this, so you'll have something to see. Okay, and so let's see. Can I get rid of this on the top? That little bar.
They won't see it.
They won't see it. Oh, only I see it. So this is a more recent. I'm kind of starting at the present and moving around. There's no chronology because it's all from the same well. So it begins. There was once just 3 historic time periods: the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, and the Iron Age, named for their tool-making technologies. They gave archaeologists structures for discoveries, but completely overlooked an earlier period that lasted longer and was seedbed for how we became Homo sapiens. The Botanic Age added another ingredient to the evolutionary pot: wood. Trees and leaves and vines fueled the development of our distinct species. Before we became plant blind, I don't know if you've heard that term, but it's recently coined to acknowledge the domination of the artificial over the natural world that began with the Industrial Revolution. We actually lived in the Botanic Age. It was a time when we were stewards of this earth, not its masters. Research by Dr. Dean Falk at FSU challenges the notion that stones were man's first tools, giving hunters the ability to bring down the big game, the driving force behind human evolution. Instead, she names botanic inventions such as woven baskets, necessitated by bipedal development of our animal predecessors, as the shapers of human cognition and culture over millions of years. She dates the Botanic Age 3 million years before the Stone Age, a long period when we descended from the tree canopy and became terrestrial. During that period, we slept in tree nests woven from leaves and fastened with vines for stability. As we continued to physically evolve, to stand up and walk, our second hands, the feet, lost their power to grip. We stopped climbing trees, made sleeping nests on the ground, and needed sacks to carry our young. Dr. Falk says the first invention of bipedal hominins was a body sling woven from vines, like today's backpacks. Our ancestors also creatively engaged with plants, making the first art. Fossil records show cross-hatching, signifying weaving, lines of warp and weft drawn with sticks in wet clay that were found in pit-fired shards. Ernest Barnett Newman also reconceptualized our view of the past. In his essay, The First Man Was an Artist, he said man's hand traced the stick through the mud to make a line before he learned to throw the stick. Man's first expression, like his first dream, was an aesthetic one. It's time to merge Dr. Falk's insightful revision of history with what Newman called the totemic act of wonder. Now, Newman was a man, but according to what we looked up, the divine feminine is a spiritual concept that represents the feminine aspect of the divine. This is a very inclusive conversation here. So works of art are the expressions of the culture we live in. Aside from the practical aspect of appreciating plants in their diversity as indispensable to life itself, what it means to be a human being has been expressed in metaphor as sprouting seed. That's Isaiah 11:1, and a living branch on a tree, on the tree of life, as long as there's been written history. This ancient wisdom continues to be relevant, a message for this moment in time, lest we forget completely and forego our physical and spiritual connection to the earth that seeded us. Art critic Ben Davis, recalling Arthur Danto, who was a friend of mine, explains well contemporary art's removed from nature in his essay, Art in the Ecological. Pop art aestheticized the overwhelming presence of advertising and consumer culture. Minimalism aestheticized the industrial and the machine-made. Conceptualism aestheticized the insinuation of information and media into everyday life. Today, the default mode of imagining the future seems to be dystopic. Most of us exist in relation to a constructed world. I believe it is our duty, a fundamental duty and responsibility of the artist, to address recent legal and philosophic ideas regarding the rights of future generations. We need to become an active force for necessary change, transposing the threats facing our world today into image and story. There is no blank slate left to reconfigure the mythic Eden. It is possible for each of us to recreate sacred space. That's what I've done here in the studio as much as I can, and as small as that space can be in this world. There is some evidence of movement addressing this imperative, a recognition that our species must focus again on the natural world and its place in our life. The conflict between such aims and the reality of a cynical and market-driven art world require a seismic shift. Brilliant and visionary artists Newton Harrison and Helen Meyer Harrison begin their poetic studies of soil science and global warming as early as 1970, and later founded an organization to continue and expand the role of artists in rejecting the alienation from our natural resources and our dependence on technology. I should mention here that I had my study years in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and we were great with manifestos. The Unabomber is one, and his manifesto against technology is a revisionist history at the moment. And when I arrived in Ann Arbor, Tom Hayden had just dropped the Port Huron Manifesto. So the idea of speaking like this is also, I lift a cup to my predecessors. Newton said, "Our time of grace is over." The idea that technology is able to buy us out of our problems is an illusion. We are going to have to make the changes in our consciousness and our behavior. So for this gentle call to arms, it is important to recall another aspect of our Homo sapien identity. We emerged from the tree canopy with three basic instincts: survival, power, and a sexual drive. We evolved a fourth instinct, call it a soul. And it will take a soul, the compassionate side of ourselves, to contend with even a small portion of the uncertainties ahead. We must take and turn to the task of creating a new worldview, a reconsecration of the botanic age that uses our accreted wealth and knowledge to reconnect with the past and moral purpose. Fortunately, we are artists and we understand the sublime art of unselfing. I think the new botanic age is on the horizon after listening to these talks today. And I've always described the artist as midwife, delivering the future. And that also I feel I've seen on the screen today in one of the paintings. So with this, I'm going to move here and show you. This is 6 feet tall. This is a first tool, and I made it just because I imagined what that would be like. Here, let's see if this is going. How do I move these this way, maybe? Yes, here, let's go here. I also made, at the request of someone who saw work of mine at an exhibition, an intuitive alphabet. And these shapes, these beautiful shapes, I gathered, I have them here. Growing up by the ocean, I saw the goddess everywhere. Let's see here. These are like the dancing girls in Crete. And wait, we missed one. And let's see, no, go back one more. These look like Greek sculpture to me. These are shells, just fragments. And it was wonderful to grow up so free and wild by an ocean. I wrote a book commissioned by the city of Miami Beach when they gave me the guardianship of my tree. And it's called The Seed Takes Root. That's really me as well as the tree. and it's somewhat autobiographical. And here talks about the mango tree whose flowers went from bud to bloom, then fruited quickly, seeds of the earth that swelled and burst forth in the tropical heat. All of this was true. And I remember so well the feeling, the smell, the glory of life and nature was so present. I was really happy to be a child in the tropics. It came to pieces like this called Distraught Goddess and Her Prophecy. I took the clay and pressed them in leaves, rolled them around. I burnt them. This is just clay and iron. And this is at Nymphenburg in the historic kilns. I was commissioned about 10 years ago. There's a close-up in one of the kilns. This piece is here in the loft. We'll look in a minute, called Totem, made of vine, woods, and archival wax. This piece is at the University of Michigan at the museum. Again, it speaks to some of the psychological and physical aspects of other talks today. It made me happy to hear them. This is a wonderful, strange thing made of roots and wood that was eventually cast. It's called Cro-Magnon 2085, when I realized what we were doing to Mother Earth, that we were going backwards. It's in a private collection. And this is called Birth of Adam. And it's quite a wonderfully ferocious piece. It's 8 feet tall. And Adam from Roots, where he was born, is in the Whitney. And I dispute the fact we did come from a rib. I think the original Genesis speaks of 2 things, 2 elephants, to everything, and not one, never, anywhere. And there are many books, one called, let me see if I can recall the title this morning, but it's a voice, a woman's voice, and we certainly have evolved from the beginning equally. This is a goddess, and it's the cover of a book called Human Nature, and all of these pieces are in private collections. This is woman with long arms. The arms were made of wood. And this is recent. This is in Malta. They had 6 statues only in the town of Valletta. They were all the men who formed the community. And they commissioned a piece from me, and I came with the palm goddess. That is the palm native to Malta, and it brings back the divine feminine, of which they have great history, but not too many people there pay attention. So here's a close-up. You can see she's layered, she's taking flight, and she didn't end up in the Contemporary Museum. She ended up in the main square and is now, I signed a contract with Heritage Malta. So she's morphed out of a smaller context, and she holds court in the main square, which is very lovely. And this is a work I'm better known for. It's Miami Airport. This is a detail. It's 1.25 miles. It's called A Walk on the Beach. And in this work of art, it's a bouquet I threw back to a place that gave me a language. And it gave me song, it gave me poetry, it gave me light. Ann Arbor gave me tools with which to express it. And then I set foot with my backpack, woven of metaphoric vines, into the world. So here, the studio, this is the end of the slides. And now I'm going to
Recording in progress.
Yes, see if I can turn this off. Yes, we're going to try to see if I'm technologically fit this morning. I'm going to go right to this room. Can you see? This is from 1884, this room, and I've not done the floor, but it's a storeroom of hopes and dreams, and we move out to a larger studio. And can you see here the early ceramics?
Yep.
1964, 1968. And my new friend, Human Growing on a Vine. Is that visible?
Yes, it's cute.
Yes, good, good. And then the library, which has some wonderful books, some of them mentioned today. And here is the history of art. And let's go here. Look, we can see witchcraft among the animals. Women share in primitive culture. The white goddess. So many here. White woman witch doctor, old magic, myth. This is myth, religion, and mother right. So we worship at the altar here. And then is this beautiful goddess. I studied with Oleg Grabar, and he was also somebody who understood the world view that's been articulated. Here's some of these pieces and some of the language. So again, it's been a joy speaking with you and sharing with you. And I'm going to end up here on a book of enchantment that I just finished. And it's here that I see earth meeting heaven and the flight of the two combined. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michele. That was wonderful and worked perfectly. So thank you so much.